and we'll continue where we left off yesterday. But first we'll sing Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Tira Banachari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Hare Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Oh Hare Bol Hare Bol Hare Bol Gaura Hare Bol Nitai Gaura Hare Bol Hare Bol Hare Bol Gaura Hare Bol Nitai Gaura Hare Bol Hare Bol Hare Bol Gaura Hare Bol Nitai Gaura Hare Bol Hare Bol Hare Bol Hare Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhavika Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Satchinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Surabhi Kunj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Param Gurudev Nitya Lila Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaurikishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Satam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudiya Acharya Ki Jai Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shibata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bharadasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada Ki Jai Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gautamadeep Madhyadvip Koladvip Richardvip Janadvip Modanadvip Rudradvip Apmakanavadvip Dham Ki Jai Shishi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Govardhan Dwadasa Bhatmaka Shri Brajamandal Ki Jai Radha Kund Shamakund Ganga Devi Jamuna Devi Tulsi Devi Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai Jai Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai Shri Punamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai Yogamaya Ki Jai Gopishwa Mahadev Ki Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Shachashan Chakra Ki Jai Shri Ketra Mandal Ki Jai Sarva Vigna Vinashika Shri Nashingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai Bhakta Prabha Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Chari Dham Ki Jai Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai Chari Acharya Ki Jai Acharya Mat Raj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Nitai Gauda Premanande Hari Hari Bol Om Mirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmay Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gauda Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantamanapetyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti tam mayatayo taravo vinidustam sarvabhutam hridim munimanatoshmi anapita chirim chirat kuruna vartino kalo samarapaitam unnata ujvala rasam svabhakti shriyam hari purata sundara dudikatam vasudipita sada hridare kandare sparatu vasachinandanaha Priya Surupe, Daita Surupe, Prema Surupe, Sahajabi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhuva Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavila Surupe, Bhaktya Vihina Aparara Lakshai, Shiptas Chakaramadita Rangamadye, Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana, Brinde Namaste Charana Ravindam, Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram, Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Paratram Tato Mamanastikatina Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And I'm offering the same again unto our dear, most Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate. And unto all our Rupanuga Guru Vargya and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhavevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. So we're continuing where we left off yesterday with our Jaiva Dharma study. Bihariji ki jai. Dandavat pranams. Dandavat pranams. Hari bol. Dandavat pranams. So, yes, it seems that some weren't understanding where this foul shruti was in our Jaiva Dharma. In my book, it's on page 829. So, we've got another Jaiva Dharma here you can give to Bihari. So, yes, this Falshruti is a part of the Jaiva Dharma. It's not a separate prayer or anything. But today, just for our pleasure, I wanted to read the prayer that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes at the very end of the Jaiva Dharma. In my book, it's on page 827. We can just appreciate the effort that Bhaktivinoda Thakur took to compile this granta, this eternal scripture. Effort in a sense of its compilation of all the Shastra, Tattva, Siddhanta in existence practically. I was saying yesterday how it's like putting the whole ocean into a jar. This is exactly what this Jaiva Dharma is like. So it's a culmination of all of, he completed this in 1896. So this is in his later years for sure. He leaves this world in 1914. Srila Gaur Das Babaji left in 1915. And Srila Jagannath Das Babaji left in 1913. So 3 consecutive years, these luminaries, they departed from this world, leaving Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati completely bereft. But so this was in his very later years that he compiled this, and but this is not just a this is the fruit of his whole life. When we consider the Thakur's life, and we see from his very early childhood, he wrote his first poem when he was 2 years old. He's a Nitya Siddha Parika of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the sense that his coming in the place where he comes in our line from Rupa Goswami was so essential to give this extra boost to our line. Our line had depleted into darkness after Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. There was no prominent acharya who was guiding the Vaishnavas. Srila Jagannath Das Babaji came later. So there was no prominent preaching, and many Apasiddhantas had actually crept in. So the line was depleted. So Sri Radhika, this is her line. We must understand this fully. This is her line. When we immerse ourselves in the incredible bhajans of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we see his culminating focus is only on Sri Radhika. He's saying he does not even want to associate with that person who doesn't want to surrender their lives to Sri Radhika. He's saying this a number of times, and he's describing his own eternal spiritual identity as Kamala Manjari. What does Kamala mean? It means lotus. So when this line became dark, this is Sri Radhika's line, because Radhika is the inspiration for Krishna to manifest as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself, he wants to taste that speciality of the bliss that Sri Radhika is experiencing by receiving the sweetness of Krishna's love. This is a higher taste. This is Rudha and Adi Rudha Mahabhav. Krishna cannot experience that. He only experiences Mahabhav, not these higher stages, these blazing Sattvika bhavs. So Krishna wants to experience that, taste that, but he wants to know what it is in him that Sri Radhika goes mad, this Divyan Mad that she experiences. She talks to a bumblebee. She embraces the tamal tree. What is it that she sees in me? Krishna, he can't see that himself unless he becomes the Ashraya. So as Mahaprabhu, he becomes like that. So Radharani wants everything fully, every atom is about pleasing Sri Krishna, serving Krishna, Aradhanam, this Aradhiko, this means the taking to the limit, the utmost limit of expression of servitude is Radhika, Adhika, Atyantika, Adhika. So this word Adhika means taking to the limit. So her name is Radhika, come from Adhika. So when this line became somewhat less empowered, Shri Radhika, she throws her play lotus into this world, her Kamala or Komala into this world. That is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He is Gaura Shakti. Namo Bhaktivinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti. He's the Gaura Shakti of, he's Radhika's complete embodiment. How else could a personality perform such remarkable feats that he did? Ever since I've been a devotee, I've been hearing of his glories. I can remember from the very first day, almost 40 years ago, hearing the glories of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and they're just increasing all the time. The longer we remain in this path of chanting, in this line of Mahaprabhu, then the more we will become aware and appreciative of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because I put many things on the WhatsApp thread today to inspire the devotees to go deeper in their appreciation of who is this personality, because the more we appreciate him, then most certainly the more we're going to extract or become eligible for the mercy of this Jaiva Dharma. It's all mercy. We are wanting the mercy, the kripa of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So the more we can take shelter of his divine lotus feet in so many different ways. But today I want to chant this or speak this prayer that he writes. This is at the very end, page 827 in my book, after he's concluded the 40th chapter. And it's Bolo Bhagavan Shri Krishna Chandra Ki Jai. This is, he's in ecstasy because he knows he's just completed the most sublime treatise on Vaishnavism and devotional service for the conditioned souls. At this period in time, we can't get a more capsulated version. It doesn't mean that we don't read our Bhagavatam, we don't study our Chaitanya Charitamrita, but this is the capsulation of both of them. So we have to actually immerse ourselves in the Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita to fully appreciate this. So he's saying, after serving many days and carrying upon his head the Kripa Shakti of Sri Guru Krishna and the Vaishnavas, this lowly Bhaktivinoda Thakur has completed Jaiva Dharma according to the pure conceptions of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. This book was fully complete on Magh Purnima, the full moon day of the month of Magh. in the year 410 of the Chaitanya era, 1896, at Surabhikunj. This is where we're situated now, in Godrum Dweep, near the sacred river Jahnavi in Navadweep Mandal. So right where we are, Ganga Devi is just there, Saraswati is right behind us. So much kripa can come from these sacred rivers. Those who desire the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Gauranga, the purifier of the age of Kali, should read this book with faith. However, I take an oath that someone who has not developed even a trace of Shraddha for Sri Gaurangadev should not read this book. For the dry Muktavadis can never attain the shelter of Sri Krishna, but one endowed with spiritual Shraddha will gradually realize the full esoteric aspects of Braja Leela. So this Braja Leela is the focus. This is where Bhaktivinoda Thakur is taking us. And we touched on this something yesterday. Today we will hear it much more explicitly, actually, in connection with Prem Das Babaji and Sannyasi Thakur. So now we come to our Falshruti, and we're into the sixth verse here, and then we'll read through this, and then we'll go back to our chapter 1. Jade Dvaita Gyane Haya Chita Upadaya Krishna Bhakti Chiradina Upaya Upaye. Such knowledge, which is solely related to the duality of this dull material world, is fit to be rejected, whereas transcendental knowledge of the divine duality within the spiritual world, Chit Jagat, should be accepted forever within one's heart, both as the upaya, means of attainment, and the upayi, the goal worthy of attainment. So someone once asked, how is there duality in the spiritual world? There's identity of each individual gopi or gopa or cow, whatever living entity, they have an identity, and they relate in the in activities in the world where they are, and certainly in Vrindavan, there amongst Radhika's group, for example, there are so many different politics of all the different gopis, etc., to keep the greed alive, to keep the rasa flowing. Without these interactions with Chandravali, etc., Saiba, Padma, and Bhadra, and Shamali with the other different groups, 4 different categories. Vipaksh means vi, against, and Swapaksh means with, own. That's Radhika's group. Vipaksh is Chandravali, Radhika. Then Surit, this is friendly. Friendly to who? To Radhika. And then there's the Tatashta, Bhadra. They are more, not so much both sides, actually more inclined to Chandravali. But there are millions and billions of gopis, and they are intriguing all the time to bring Radha and Krishna together, as well as many of the gopis will, if they're in Sambhog Ichmayi, this ability, we can say, or part of their staibhav is that they can have a relationship directly with Krishna, Sambhog. These are the Priyanam Sakis and the Priya Sakis and the Sakis. The Sakis are like Dhanishta, etc. So they have a relationship directly with Krishna. They are directly Radha Kaya Vyuha to have that Sambhog Ichmai. Then the other 2 out of the 5 types of Sakis are the Pran Sakis and the Nitya Sakis. And they have a mood of Tad Bhav Ichamai. They will only focus on Sri Radhika, and they have given their total existence to pleasing Sri Radhika. So these are the 5. So amongst them all, there are so many waves of intrigue, etc., to increase the excitement daily. When Krishna comes late to the Kunj to meet Radhika because he's been hijacked by Chandravali, this takes a lot of arrangement and so on. But all of these aspects are indicating the duality within the spiritual world. If there wasn't duality, it would be Advaitavad, it would be all one. It's not all one like in the Brahmajyoti. It's all variegated. And when we come to the later chapters, especially the 34th and 35th chapter of this Jaiva Dharma, it describes so many different intricacies of the emotional natures of all the different gopis. This is all coming from Ujjwala Nilamani by Rupa Goswami. So all these different types of the sama, the lagu, or the madhya, all the different types of, um, or Lalita is called Apekshika Adhika. She's Pragalbhata, but all their different emotions are described in great detail by Rupa Goswami. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur does the same thing. He describes these. So there's duality in this world, and there's duality in the spiritual world. This is what it's saying. Whereas transcendental knowledge of the divine duality within the spiritual world should be accepted forever within one's heart. In other words, put our consciousnesses into the spiritual world and leave the discord and mess of this material world, because nothing can be fixed in this material world. Don't become like an altruist or something like that, thinking that you can actually save, the planet or something like that. You can't. It's designed of a place of suffering for the living entity. This is the kingdom of karma yoni, the species of karma. In Swagaloka, it's Bhoga Yoni, and in the lower planets, it's Papa Yoni. Yes, so this is how it is. This is for the specific purpose of bringing the jiva closer, ultimately, to Krishna. When we read in the 16th chapter, we'll see that this suffering that is present in this world is nothing but an impetus for the jiva, the conditioned jiva, to go deeper within his prayer and his examination of how can he stop this suffering. It's a natural act to try to stop. If someone's pricking you with a pin, you want to get away from it. It's natural to try to stop the suffering. How can we stop the crazy mind going into dark, nightmarish conditions? Except by controlling the senses, for example. So all of these explanations are very clear and have to be attended to if one is. So this world is designed to facilitate the wayward, conditioned soul who is determined to enjoy separately from Krishna. Therefore, he has to suffer. This is the equation. As soon as we turn our head away from Krishna, this vimukh it's called. As soon as I turn my head away, what happens next instantly is that material desires spring in my heart because I'm getting no longer pleasure from serving Krishna. Therefore, material desires must, because the jiva is bound by ananda bhyasa, he has to enjoy. It's the nature of the jiva to enjoy. Because when we're serving Krishna, like the gopis are serving Krishna, they have to be feeling pleasurable. They're not seeking pleasure, but they're naturally experiencing pleasure by being with Krishna. Otherwise, why should Krishna want to be with them if they were miserable? They're all intoxicated with joy and pleasure. And this intoxicates Krishna. So this equation, this turning away from Krishna, and then suffering comes, material desires come in the heart, equals suffering. It has to equal suffering. This is all described in the 16th chapter, but this is something on this verse you can pick up. Jiva kabe jade nai, hari kabu nai, hari sa jiva chintya beta beta mai. The jiva is not a product of dull matter, nor is he Keval Advaita, absolutely one in all ways with Sri Hari. The jiva is inconceivably different and non-different from Hari. This is all described in the 18th chapter, Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva, which is the gift that Mahaprabhu came to give to this world. Because prior to Mahaprabhu, the Sampradayas were thinking everything was Vastu Parinamvad, is called, that Krishna is manifesting all these worlds. But actually Mahaprabhu came to explain it's Shakti who is performing the energetic world in this world, not Krishna. So he established this simultaneously as the principle of the jiva being different and non-different from Krishna. So this is what was confusing previously. Mahaprabhu did so many things, reconciled on so many, to prepare for this rag mag that he was going to benedict the worlds with. Deha kapa jivanai, dara bhogyanai, dasa bhogya jiva Krishna Prabhu Bhakta hai. The material body should never be considered to be the jiva, and this earth is not for the jiva to exploit and enjoy. The jiva's swarup is Krishnadas, and thus he is meant for Krishna's enjoyment, whereas Sri Krishna's swarup is Prabhu, master, and Bhakta, enjoyer. Jaiva Dharma Ache Deha Dharma Kata Ache Jiva Dharma Mayavada Prata. This book, entitled Jaiva Dharma, neither discusses matters related to the dead material body, nor does it propound the Mayavad doctrine of the jiva's oneness with Brahm. So it's, in a sense, quite repetitive what he's saying. He's saying the same thing from the very first. The distinction between matter and spirit. And our focus has to be on that spirit. And any attention we're giving to matter should be minimal. If we get engrossed in matter for our bodies, for our relatives, for our country, etc., this is going to be detrimental for our journey. 100%. Jiva Nitya Dharma Bhakti Tai Jadanai Shuddha Jiva Prema Seva Phala Payatai. The Jiva's Nitya Dharma is bhakti devoid of material motivation. The Jiva purified by seva attains the fruit of that seva in the form of prem. So these are very beautiful. We can talk so much on all of the, when we have done in the last 4 or 5 months we've been through, but I want to come back to our text. So Fal Shruti Ki Jai. So now we're coming back to page, which one?
5.
Page 5.
Yeah. Just after the shloka.
Okay.
According to Riva Jalangi Janavi.
Huh?
According to Riva Jalangi Janavi. According
On page, top of page 5. So the situation is that Sannyasi Thakur, he's connected fully with Premdas Babaji, and Premdas Babaji has embraced him. And with that embrace, he felt horripilation and his hairs rising, and he had never experienced such indescribable bliss as to be embraced by a pure Vaishnava. So Sannyasi Thakur is also, I was explaining yesterday, representing like Shukadev in the same sense that Shukadev came from a Brahmavad condition to embracing the precepts of his noble father Vyasadeva, and Sannyasi Thakur is coming in the same mood that he's come from a Brahmavad place, a Brahmagyan sannyasi, Paramahamsa sannyasi. And we also, or perhaps we're coming more from a Mayavad place. Perhaps we didn't know what to believe in, but still we can associate, in a sense, ourselves with Sannyasi Thakur in coming into this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing it from this perspective to give the conditioned soul a mood of the astonishment as we make progress in this path. And we see it in Sannyasi Thakur, his progress. So we just sang Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Prabhu Nityananda, Jaya Premadas Guru, Jaya Bhajanananda. All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda. All glories to my divine master, Premdas, and to the bliss of Bhajan. Premdas Babaji and Sannyasi Maharaj danced and performed kirtan for a long time. When they stopped, they spoke together on many topics. Finally, Premdas Babaji said very humbly, "O Mahatma, kindly stay here in Pradyumna Kunj for a few days just to purify me." In every instance, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is exemplifying the deep humility of Premdas Babaji from the very beginning. He's giving us a picture. How is the condition of consciousness in an Uttam Bhakta? Premdas Babaji is on that platform. Without this type of association, without this type of vision and appreciation, how will we have hope for our future practices, etc., without understanding the speciality of these personalities? Understand? The sannyasi said, I have offered my body to your lotus feet. Why do you speak of a few days only? My anxious prayer is that I may serve you until I give up this body. In other words, life and death, die to live. Sannyasi Thakur has come forever. He hasn't come on a one-way ticket like a tourist or something like this. He's come forever to dive deeply into this path of Braja Prem and Prem Bhakti. He's come fully for this, and that means you have to give your whole life for that. So he's a completely serious sadhak. There's nothing else going on for him. Sannyasi Thakur was an erudite scholar of all the Shastras. He knew very well that if one stays in the residence of the Guru, one will naturally receive the Guru's instructions. So he took up residence in that grove with great delight. After a few days, Paramahamsa Babaji said to the elevated sannyasi, O Mahatma, Sri Pradyumna Brahmachari has mercifully given me shelter at his lotus feet. At present, he lives in the village of Sri Devapali on the outskirts of Sri Navadvip Mandal. Devapali is another name for Nrsimhapali, exactly the same place. Previously, because now, if you look at the map, it seems that Nrsimhapali is in Goldrumdvip, but actually it's not, it's in Simantadvip. Simantadvip starts on the other side of the river, on the other side of the Saraswati. You cross over Mayapur, and then that Simantadvip goes to where the Chankazi is, but then it actually comes right around the back. That whole island of Simantadvip previously came right around, and Devapali or Nrsimhapali was there within the island of Simantadvip. It wasn't in the island of Koladvip, but because the river is changing, now it appears that Nrsimhapali is in Goldrumdvip, but actually, originally it wasn't. It was in Simantadvip, because you can see the old map. It goes right around. um, where are we? Where he is absorbed in the worship of Sri Nrsimhadev. I asked my Gurudev when we were doing this, why are we glorifying this personality in a mood of wanting to hear about Brajras, etc., worship to Sri Radhika, become a Radha Palyadasi, and we're hearing the elevated nature of this person who is worshipping the Nrsimhadev. I couldn't figure out how that could be his Ishtadev, and my Gurudev explained. The Nrsimhadev greatly supports the endeavors of any bhakta. If a bhakta is desirous of Ragmarg, Nrsimhadev will clear all those obstacles in his path for him to attain that position. So Pradyumna Brahmachari is in a most humble mood also, just like Premdas Babaji, and he's residing there in the most wonderful embrace of Sri Nrsimhadev, who can support and nourish someone's rag, marg, bhajan. It's not that Nrsimhadev is only just for the Vaidhi bhaktas, but Nrsimhadev can be embraced for the Raganuga bhaktas also, where he is absorbed in the worship of Sri Nrsimhadev. Today, after collecting alms, let us go there and take darshan of his lotus feet. Sannyasi Thakur replied, I will follow whatever instructions you give me. After 2 o'clock, they crossed the Alakananda River and arrived in Sri Devapali. They then crossed Suryatila River and took darshan of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associate, Sri Pradyumna Brahmachari, who was in the temple of Sri Nrsimhadev. So this is going to give us a time reference. Pradyumna Brahmachari was an eternal associate of Mahaprabhu. So this is more than now 500 years ago. So this is happening. Pradyumna Brahmachari, I think, is elderly now. So this will be a little less than 500 years ago is when this book, the pastimes are set in that historic setting. From afar, Paramahamsa Babaji fell to the ground and offered prostrated obeisances to his guru. Pradyumna Brahmachari then came out of the temple, his heart melting with affection for his disciple. Lifting Paramahamsa Babaji with both hands and embracing him very lovingly, he inquired about his welfare. After they discussed topics concerning bhajan for some time, Paramahamsa Babaji introduced Sannyasi Thakur to his guru. Well, I find that interesting, that first of all they discussed topics, and then he introduced him to Sannyasi Thakur. It's not he was putting Sannyasi Thakur in front of their personal relationship. First, they indulged in their personal relationship with great pleasure and happiness and relish, and then he introduced him afterwards. There's not a single sentence that Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that is irrelevant. Everything is creating such a picture of pure devotion for our journey, our progress. For some time, Paramahamsa Babaji introduced Sannyasi Thakur to his guru. Brahmachari Thakur said with great respect, "My dear brother, you have obtained a most qualified guru. You should study the book Prem Vivart under Prem Das's direction. Kiva Vipra, Kiva Nyase, Sudra Kena Noi. Jai Krishna Tattvaveti, Se Guru Hoy. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 8, 128. So this is from the Ramananda Sambad. Whether one is a Brahmana, a sannyasi, or a Sudra, if he is fully conversant with all the truths regarding transcendental knowledge of Sri Krishna, he can become a guru. Sannyasi Thakur humbly offered obeisances at the lotus feet of his Param Gurudev and said, Prabhu, you are an associate of Sri Chaitanya Dev, and you can purify hundreds of arrogant sannyasis like me just by your merciful glance. Please bestow your mercy upon me. So Sannyasi Thakur knows how to behave. He knows how to honor. He knows how to acquire the mercy of the senior devotees. It's very, very important. My Gurudev would spend a lot of time coaching us, schooling us on etiquette. He would tell us, like when we used to sit in front of him, why are the juniors sitting so close? They should give space to the seniors to sit close, etc. He would always be prompting and correcting all the time, this engendering respect throughout for ultimately Guru and all those who are closer to Guru, and then the next levels like this, and this whole current of respect. If that is being taught and practiced in the various groups, then the groups are very, very strong. There's no question. Sannyasi Thakur had no previous experience of the reciprocal behavior between Vaishnavas. However, he accepted the mutual dealings that he observed between his guru and Param Guru as the sadachar, proper etiquette, that he himself should follow. And from that day on, he behaved accordingly towards his own guru without a trace of duplicity. It's very important. Our material relationships, even though we're practicing sadhaks, we still have material bodies and we bump into each other in various rude ways sometimes. So we have to try and exemplify the behavior of our guru, like Srila Radha Govinda Goswami Maharaj. He such impeccable sadachar always, and this is to teach us the same. And we should, regardless of the other person's perhaps inability to do like that, we should not compromise ourselves, and we make the standard. And if someone is being offended, we do just leave. But we should very diligently practice this. It's essential. As the heart grows closer towards pure devotional service, then the reality of the spiritual world becomes more clear in the heart of the sadhak, and that transcendental Vishuddha Sattva realm starts to be perceived, and the behavior of the residents of those dhams is beyond compare. So we are aspiring for that residence. So it starts with our behavior also. It's very, very important. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making a point of bringing it out in this whole incident here. He behaved accordingly towards his own guru without a trace of duplicity. When the evening arti was over, that's the evening arti at Nrsimhapali, was over, the guru and Shishya returned to Sri Godrum. A few days after residing in the Kunj, Sannyasi Thakur became anxious to inquire about spiritual truths from Paramahamsa Babaji. In this way, Sannyasi had adopted. By this time, correct me if I make a mistake here. By this time, the sannyasi had adopted all the ways of a Vaishnava except for his outer dress. During his previous training, Sannyasi Thakur had developed qualities such as full control over his mind and senses, and had become firmly established in the conception of the non-dual, all-pervading absolute Brahmanishta in Brahmanishta. In addition, he had now acquired staunch faith in the transcendental pastimes of Parabrahm Sri Krishna, and had become deeply humble. This is remarkable. It's only just been a few days, but because he was such a sincere personality, as will be revealed in the next chapters, there's many chapters, many examples to reveal the elevated stage of this personality that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is portraying. But we see because this personality will have had good sanskar, he will have had good impressions, and he's practiced controlling his senses, which is essential for the sadhak to make progress. The cause of any sort of disturbance generally comes from our lack of being able to control our material senses. They have to be controlled. We have to make an effort, just like a yogi. We are bhakti yogis. So we need to control the mind very much indeed. Bhagavad Gita, yehi samsparsaja bhoga dukkha yoni evitai. So many verses are saying in Bhagavad Gita. In addition, he had now acquired staunch faith in the transcendental pastimes of Parabrahm Sri Krishna, and had become deeply humble. Very beautiful. One morning, after performing ablutions, yes, different to ablations, ablutions at the break of dawn, Paramahamsa Babaji sat in the Madhavi Grove chanting Harinam on his Tulsi Mala. At that time, Shri Radha and Krishna Yugal's Nishanta Lila, their pastime just prior to dawn, gradually manifested within his heart. It's important for us to appreciate this Astakalya Lila. My Gurudev said a number of times, many times actually, out of the whole 40 chapters in this Jaiva Dharma, the first 4 are the most important. And out of the first 4, the first 2 are most important. And out of the first 2, the first 1. This first chapter is the most important out of all the other chapters in Jaiva Dharma. It's laying the complete foundation and groundwork for the entire Gaudiya Siddhanta to sit on, to have a strong connection on. So this mentioning immediately about Nishanta Lila, we immediately appreciate, it's just after Ratri Lila. We have the 8 yamas running through the consciousness. So we have Nishanta Lila, Prata Lila, then Purvana Lila, Madhyana Lila, Apurvana Lila, Shyam Lila, Pradosh Lila, and then Ratri Lila. These are the 8 pastimes of the day. The sadhak should study this. Actually, if we look now in the 38th chapter of this Jaiva Dharma, the Astakalya Leelas are completely opened out by Vrinda Devi. She's speaking to Narad, and Lord Shivji is there. So all of these pastimes are very clearly spread out there. So this Nishanta Leela is particularly special for the sadhaks because it's the time just prior when Radha and Krishna were in their tightest embrace in the whole 24 hours of the day. At the end of the Ratri Leela, which is the Rasa Leela timing, then their pastimes are the most intense and loving. And that is flowed through into Nishanta Leela, when they're finally alone together in the Kunj, and they're in their most intimate embrace. And very soon, they're going to be in their highest separation mood at the same time. So you've got both of these running together. You've got this intense union, and you've got this really super intense separation going to happen afterwards. When Krishna leaves the Kunj, he has to go back alone to Nandagaon, to Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba. And he has no one there with him. He just falls from tree to tree to tree, finally falls into his bed, throws the sheet, and then immediately Mother Yashoda comes in to wake him up. And what's in his heart? He's just feeling the rapture of being with Sri Radhika. So this is a very moving state of consciousness for the sadhak to appreciate. So this is one of the reasons why we rise during this Brahma Muhurta hour. Lord Brahma is so generous in his creation that he's given us this short window, this mode of goodness, Brahma Muhurta hour, from what is it, 3:30, 4 o'clock practically until 6, or 3:36 until 4 something, till 5, oh, it's till 6 o'clock. Yeah, 5:30, approximately like that. So only those hours in the whole day is the mode of goodness present. As soon as those hours finish, the mode of passion kicks in. Everyone goes to work, industry begins, etc. Then in the afternoon, everyone goes to sleep. It's tamagun. And then in the evening time, passion again. And then again, sleep. Tamagun comes. So these are the only couple of hours in the day, the most clear hours in the whole atmosphere, when the sadhak can really chant and really attempt to dive into contemplation and concentration on these ecstatic transcendental pastimes of the Lord. So Lord Brahma has made this particular time. So, and this is immediately he's describing this. At that time, Sri Radha and Krishna Yugal, Sri Radha and Krishna's Yugal Nishanta Lila, their pastime just prior to dawn, gradually manifested within his heart. Because this was the time that Sri Radha and Krishna part from each other's company, having the Kunj, leaving the Kunj to return to their respective homes. Paramahansa Babaji felt great pangs of separation, and tears of love streamed continuously from his eyes. While absorbed in meditation on this pastime, he was internally engaged in service appropriate to that period of the day in his perfected spiritual form. Thus, he had lost all awareness of his physical body. Again, this is describing the elevated condition of Premdas Babaji. Sannyasi Thakur was captivated by Babaji's state and sat beside him, observing his sattvika bhavs, transcendental symptoms of ecstasy. These sattvika bhavs are physically present: horripilation, kampa, this romancha, all these ashru bhavs are there physically, And when Radha and Krishna interact with each other, these barbs are, they can see these barbs within each other. And this is intoxicating for both of them to appreciate each other's moods like that. So suddenly, Paramahamsa Babaji said to him, "O Saki, silence Kakati, Shrimati Radhika's monkey, at once, otherwise she will rouse Radha Govinda, from their sleep of divine pleasure. Then Lalita Saki will become distressed and will rebuke me. Look there, Ananga Manjari is signaling for you to do this. You are Raman Manjari, and this is your designated service. Be attentive in this regard." What a packet that paragraph is, completely. Right in the very beginning, we've only read 5, 6 pages, and immediately Bhaktivinoda Thakur is inviting us in to appreciate the reality of the transcendental spiritual world and the nature of a Uttam Bhakta, Uttam Sadak, Siddha, who is immersed in those pastimes. Kakati is that monkey that has to call out. And later on, this monkey, what's the monkey going to call out? Jyotila's coming, Jyotila's coming. But what does Jyotila mean? Jyotila also means dawn. So the dawn is coming, the dawn is coming, but Radha and Krishna don't think that. They just think the old cranky lady, Jyotila, is coming to catch them together, because this is part of the duality that we just described in the spiritual world, to create the intensity of union. It's all to create the intensity. Everything is there to facilitate Radha and Krishna's meeting and happiness, everything that's happening in Braj. So all of these apparent um, uh, personalities like Jyotila and Kotila, they're so much necessary for this Leela to transpire. So now we're hearing about Lalita Saki, and we're hearing about Ananga Manjari. We should know, by the way, that Ananga Manjari is not a Manjari. We should understand she's actually a Saki, but her name is Ananga Manjari, the younger sister of Sri Radhika. And she's married to the younger brother of Abhimanyu, Durmada. And she's also in the household of Jyotila. But she has conjugal relationships with Krishna. So she's not a Manjari. She's a Saki. We see when we go to Radhakund. I think we mentioned this the other day when we went to Radhakund, in front of the sitting place of Janavi Devi, in that temple there with Gopinath. Ananga Manjari is on Krishna's left, which is always reserved for Krishna's Shakti Radha. And Radharani is standing on his right. So this is the position of Ananga Manjari. But Ananga Manjari, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has really emphasized her a lot in his bhajans, in his poetry. And he even has called his house here Swananda Sukata Kunj, which is the place where Ananga Manjari resides in Radhakund. Her island is actually in the middle of Radhakund. Swa Ananda Sukata Kunj. That's her place. So he's called his temple here Swananda, and he's often mentioning Ananga Manjari. It's an interesting, because Ananga Manjari is also embodied within Nityananda Prabhu, also Janavi Devi. So these personalities, they embody, or Ananga Manjari is within the body of Balaram. That's how he's performing the rasa pastimes in Braj, because we know that Balaram, he performs all 5 rasas in Braj. He's the repository of that. So he has the form of Ananga Manjari. So Ananga Manjari is very potent, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur was mentioning him right here, right in the beginning. After uttering these, and he's also given Sannyasi Thakur his Swarup name, his eternal name, this Raman Manjari. And I must just mention here that a few devotees over the years, they've commented, oh, does this mean, is this the same name as my Gurudev? My Gurudev's name is also Raman Manjari, but this has nothing to do with that at all. To my knowledge, this is purely coincidental. It's not at all meaning that this is referencing my Gurudev. I'd never heard my Gurudev even say a whisper about anything of that nature at all. He has shared with us his name, his dress, etc. All of this is being given, but nothing in reference here. So this is not um, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj's form appearing in pages of Jaiva Dharma. No, it's not. He appears in the pages of Jaiva Dharma because he translated it from the Bengali into the Hindi, and then he inspired the Western devotees to translate it into English. So that is how he is appearing in this Jaiva Dharma, which is very prominently. He's giving us this Jaiva Dharma. After uttering these words, Paramahamsa Babaji fell unconscious. From that moment, Sannyasi Maharaj, now acquainted with his spiritual identity and service, engaged himself accordingly. We don't have to ask what it was that he did. That will be inspired within the heart of the realized soul. When the soul realizes his transcendental identity, automatically at that time, his seva, etc., all the Ekadash Bhavs are naturally going to be revealed to him very clearly. There doesn't have to be any separate endeavor, questioning, or anything like that. After uttering these words, Paramahamsa Babaji fell unconscious. From that moment, Sannyasi Maharaj, now acquainted with his spiritual identity and service, engaged himself accordingly. Thus the day dawned, and the morning light spread its luster in the east. Birds began chirping melodiously in every direction, and a gentle breeze blew. The extraordinary beauty of the Madhavi Grove of Pradyumna Kunj, illuminated by the crimson rays of the rising sun, was beyond description. So this can carry the consciousness to a very sattvic pace of contemplation. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making like these waves, of visually to appreciate. I can remember previously in my school days really appreciating this author Charles Dickens. I read all his books thinking that he was an incredibly descriptive, and the way he would create his characters and everything. But coming to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he so much excels any other material writer in just on the mundane platform, what to speak of the spiritual content. But this is very beautiful. You see the exhilaration from the beginning here. The sannyasi Thakur, he's contemplating his own condition, and then he's having this experience with Prem Das Babaji in his samadhi, and then he's hearing about Lalita and Ananga, and then he's being given his Siddha Sarup, he's being given his spiritual identity as Raman Manjari. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur concludes this little aspect with this incredible description of the environment around there at the time. What's the time? 6 o'clock. I think this is a good place to end, a very beautiful place to end today. So we'll begin from the beginning of page 8 tomorrow. I'm not in a hurry to read through this Jaiva Dharma. Our intention is not just to race through it and say, yes, I've studied Jaiva Dharma or something like that. My intention is to relish it at every chapter and every sentence, and to pray to my Gurudev to bring out more of the essential truths that are here. But these truths are unlimited. They can go on for it. We could just turn around right now and start from page 1 of chapter 1 and read again, and we'd get a newer, fresher appreciation and realization. Just like the Bhagavatam and just like the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We can read it again and again and again and again. I must have read this Jaiva Dharma so many times, and yet every time I read it, I feel I've never read it before. I have that feeling of its astonishing beauty and speciality. And every time I read it, I'm appreciating newer and newer truths that are buried here. It's like a gold mine. It's just endlessly, we can churn it and bring these out. So I'm not in a hurry. So we'll stop today on page 8 and carry on tomorrow. So Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Yes, this appreciation of Bhaktivinoda Thakur is essential to embarking on our journey and study of Jaiva Dharma. More and more our immersion, because this personality has given so much information about himself to the world for our meditation. He wrote so many letters to his elder son, Lalit Prasad, which are very descriptive of his activities, etc. He shared with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati so many um, thoughts and conclusions that he had in his bhajan, etc. They were knew each other. There's a description when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was with his noble father on a train station, and this was in later years, and then his father went into a complete samadhi meditation on the station. They were sitting on a bench and just fainted. And then all people came around. They wanted to take him to a hospital. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta wouldn't let anyone just touch him, just let him sit still for about 40, 50 minutes. And then he returned from that samadhi consciousness. But like that's, you can't get much more intimate than that. That was the sort of relationship Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had with his father. He was appreciating the height of his states of consciousness that he would attain. So when we hear more about the great Thakur, this gives us more opportunity to understand his words and what does he want from us? How can we proceed? How can we also, in turn, distribute this? So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Golda Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Normally, my Gurudev would always tell us that we had to chant after any meeting, that we had to, when we chant and we enter into a meeting, it's as if we're um, coming into a confidential um, place of consciousness, and you open the door by the kirtan at the beginning, and you have to close the door again with kirtan at the end. So instead of having a kirtan, I just want to say 3 Hare Krishna mantras together. This will close the door. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauda Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavevya Namaha.